You probably think addiction is some massive monster you have to fight against. Deadly triggers, massive urges, painful relapses. Always falling back into your old behavior even though you want to quit so desperately. Well, what if I told you you have the ability to quit today and never desire to go back? Never having to worry about triggers, urges, or relapses for the rest of your life. What if I told you porn addiction is just one massive illusion? Okay, I know what you're thinking. Clickbait, but it's not. Like, seriously, just hang on with me for a few minutes and I'll explain myself. Okay, there's no trick to it. Porn addiction is actually an illusion. To understand why porn addiction is an illusion, we first need to look at our current model of addiction, okay? Which is called the disease model of addiction. The disease model of addiction states that you have some addiction, some activity or some drug that you used, and at some point you lost control to it. It hijacked your brain, and now you are compulsively taking this action beyond your free will. You don't want to do it, but you have to do it because you're addicted. This is the model that places like the AA, like the Alcoholics Anonymous groups use, trying to get people free from alcohol. They say you were drinking, then at some point alcohol took control of your life. Now you need to go through this rigorous recovery program to get free again. So now you need to make sure that you avoid your triggers. Don't go to bars, don't go to clubs, don't get near alcohol, because as soon as you touch alcohol again, you're going to be back into your old ways and you're completely going to lose control. You need to have accountability and you need to have support because it's going to be very difficult to go through this time. NoFap pretty much took this exact same idea and just applied it to pornography. So they say you need to avoid your triggers, figure out what is causing you to watch porn and make sure that you don't get into those situations. And then when you do accidentally get into those situations, you need to make sure that you have some plan for how to fight against the urges. As soon as you get that desire, just do push-ups. And then when you relapse, you just have to get back up and try again. Well, I hate to say it, but this is a very, very sad view of addiction. Because you will never get free. Because you'll have to stay in recovery for the rest of your life. Like these alcoholic anonymous groups, it's not that they go through recovery to get free and then just live a good life again. They have to stay in recovery to stay sober. So as soon as you no longer pay attention to your triggers and make sure that you don't stay away from them, you will relapse again. So now for the rest of your life, you need to make sure that you don't get close to any bars. But the same thing applies to NoFap. If you're doing NoFap, it means for the rest of your life, you need to not get triggered. You need to make sure that you don't look at girls on social media. You need to make sure that you don't, see anything triggering or be alone at night at home. But you will inevitably get triggered. Even if you can stay free for hundreds of days, it's only a matter of time until there's some external circumstance beyond your control, and then you relapse. I mean, that's why they have NoFap streaks, because everybody knows that he's gonna relapse at some point. So he just sees, well, how long can I go before I mess up? It's sad, bro. Well, fortunately, there is a better model for addiction. Drum roll, please. It's called the freedom model. The freedom model states that we do things out of free will. Our brains are not getting hijacked. We always have control. And there's something called the positive drive principle. We do whatever makes us the happiest, or whatever we believe will make us the happiest. I mean, because think about it really. When's the last time you watched porn? Where were you? What were you thinking? What were you thinking just before you were about to relapse? It was probably positive thoughts about porn. It was like, I want to do this thing. I know I shouldn't want to do this thing, No, it's bad for me, but I want to do this thing. It'll feel good, or I'll feel more relaxed afterwards. And afterwards, you relapsed, you hate yourself, you feel angry, you feel upset, you're like, why did I do this? But you still did it because you wanted to pursue happiness in the first place. Even though the outcome wasn't what you wanted, you did it because you thought it would put you in a better position than what you were in before. Now, it could literally just be like, well, right now I feel super horny and I don't like this feeling. I don't like feeling this constant drive towards something and having to resist it. So I'm just going to go with the flow so I can get rid of this feeling. That is also the pursuit of happiness. It's the positive drive principle. Now you might say, well, I don't even enjoy it, and I don't want to do it. After I feel terrible while doing it. But it's still like, you might feel this much bad about doing it, but you still feel this much good about doing it, or this much you want to do it. For reasons you might not even know. A lot of it is subconscious. You might have subconscious beliefs about this thing will make me feel more relaxed, or this thing will be a good distraction from my problems. And to me, that was a big thing back when I was addicted. I was like, I'd be struggling with something, working on my business, running into some problem, and then I'd suddenly get a desire to watch porn. Like, how does this make any sense? The thing is, my brain has subconsciously made the pattern that whenever I'm sitting here struggling on my business, this is an uncomfortable feeling. And to get rid of this feeling, if I go watch porn, I will temporarily distract myself and feel better. Okay, I didn't consciously know about this pattern, but it was subconsciously there and it still drove me to do the thing. And then the last principle of the freedom model is autonomy. The mind works completely independently of its external environment. The mind is not an inanimate object. Like if I took a ball and I threw the ball, okay, then we could use physics to predict exactly how that ball would react. How it will bounce on the floor, how far it will move, how much resistance there will be, how much energy will be exerted. But with the mind, that cannot be done. If somebody goes through trauma, let's say his dog died, there's no way of knowing how that will affect the person. Okay, one person will be extremely upset and sad and go into grief, and the other person with the exact same dog might just sit there in gratitude, being happy about all of the good memories he had with the dog. The mind is autonomous of its external circumstances. It is not dependent on the external circumstances. That means that no matter what you put into the mind, you cannot control how it's going to influence the mind. So no amount of recovery is going to change your desire for porn. You can have accountability, you can have support, you can have all of these actionable steps of like finding purpose in your life so you no longer do this thing. But all of that is just a distraction from the real problem, which is that you still believe that this thing somehow serves you. And as long as you believe it serves you, nothing else will do anything. And nobody else can create that change in your brain. No external input can change your brain. You have to do it internally. But what's very interesting is some people are actually addicted to porn. It's like the disease model of addiction is accurate with them. But you know why? It's because they believe in it. When you believe that something is true, you will act like it is true. If you believe that addiction is some disease that takes control of you, and that you will not have control over your own actions, then your own brain will make that true. Your mind is incredibly powerful. It has the ability to create physical symptoms within your body. It has the ability to literally alter the universe. And there's so many examples of how this has happened. For instance, there was once a football game. Okay, and at this football game, there's a ton of people in the stadium. And all of a sudden, 3 of the people get extremely sick and they just start vomiting. So they go to the doctor on site, and he looks at them and he's trying to figure out, okay, what do these three people have in common? Why are they all getting sick? And the only pattern he could find was that all three of them bought a cool drink from the soda machine. So he concluded, okay, there's something wrong with the soda. Let's announce that the soda machine is making the people vomit and everybody should stop drinking soda from the soda machine. As soon as they made that announcement over the speakers, dozens and dozens and dozens of people just started vomiting all over the place, suddenly getting sick. But you know what they found out afterwards? Those people, those initial three people didn't get sick from the soda machine. It was something completely different. But just because they announced that the soda machine was making people sick, these people suddenly became sick and started vomiting. Well, the idea of addiction is the exact same. If you believe that you're addicted and you believe that you're compelled to do this thing and that you cannot control yourself, then you will literally lose control. Your own brain will force you to do it because he believes that he should. This is what should happen. Again, this can also be seen with alcoholics so many times. These alcoholics in Alcoholics Anonymous, and the guy would be sober for a couple of months and then he went to a wedding. At the wedding there was like some alcoholic drink and he didn't realize it's alcoholic, and he had a sip and he realized, oh, I just had alcohol. I know what happens now. When I take one sip of alcohol, they told me that I'm gonna go completely back to my old ways and lose control and just indulge in alcohol and be an alcoholic again. So you know what the guy did? He immediately walked over to the bar at the wedding venue and just bought a bunch of alcohol and indulged and became an alcoholic again. Not because he was inherently incapable of controlling himself, but because he believed that he didn't have the ability to control himself. So if you believe you're an addict, you will be an addict. So what is the process of quitting porn then? You need to realize it's an entirely psychological process. There's no actionable steps of taking cold showers or going outside or avoiding triggers. All of these things can sometimes be good. I mean, taking cold showers is good for you, socializing is good for you. But these things are not necessary to quit porn. Okay? They're not what's allowing you to quit porn. All you have to do is change your preferences. Right now, your brain believes that my life with porn is more beneficial than a life without porn. So, you continue to take porn. But as soon as you realize that a life without porn will actually be happier than a life with porn, you will stop doing it. So you need to realize that there's three options. You can either continue on with heavy usage, like you've always done. You can just moderate, do it less, or you can completely abstain. Now obviously you're like, no, I can't continue on like this. And I also don't want to just do it sometimes. That's not an option. I don't want to do it. I have to never do it again. Never. Okay, but this very mindset is what's holding you stuck. It's because you don't want to quit. You believe you have to quit. You're not looking at all of the options. You're just like, I have to quit. There's no other option. It's only when you consider all of the options that you become convicted about that abstinence is the right thing. You have to make a complete list of all of the pros and cons of each option. Okay, what are the benefits of just continuing on like now? What are the benefits of maybe just moderating? What are the benefits of abstinence? And then what are the cons of each one of those? And then you create like a life vision with each one of those options in your life. What will my life be like? What is like the best case scenario with my life if I was just to keep on going with my current way of doing things? What would my life be like if I just moderate? What would my life be like if I completely leave it? You don't want to be biased here. Just completely look with an unbiased mind at all three options and ask yourself, which one is the happiest option? And you will do whatever makes you the happiest. So if you can realize that abstinence is a happier option, we just automatically take it on. I no longer get porn urges. I don't want to do it. It's because I love my life. Because I've realized that a life with abstinence is just so much happier. I've realized that if I don't do these things, then my brain has a focus on delayed gratification. I can get higher pleasures in life. Higher pleasures are these delayed gratification pleasures. It's like I'm building a YouTube channel. That's a higher pleasure. I get to build an aesthetic body. That's a higher pleasure. I get to spend time with people and actually hang out with real girls instead of virtual ones. That's a higher pleasure. And I've become so convicted that I hate these lower pleasures because I know that if I go onto TikTok, okay, it's very harmlessly, just go onto TikTok for 5 minutes because I'm feeling a little exhausted from my work. I know that 5 minutes of TikTok is going to turn into an hour. And that's going to lower my dopamine levels, and it's going to make it more difficult for me to do my work, which is going to mean that in the end I'm going to get less pleasure because my work is more pleasurable than these little hits of dopamine from shorts. Okay, and the exact same thing applies to porn. Like I know that right now it might feel kind of good, but it's going to destroy my brain's abilities to do more rewarding things. Okay, and it's going to reduce my ability of actually getting a relationship, which is a lot more fulfilling. So therefore I don't want this thing. Okay, it's part of the past. I used to do it. I used to think it has benefits. I don't anymore. I'm done with it. There's no recovery. There's no fear of relapse. There's no counting days. It's just, okay, I used to do this thing. I don't want it anymore. Let's let go of it. And there's no shame. As soon as you take shame out of the equation, everything just becomes so simple. But if I have to be brutally honest here, like this video won't save you. Honestly, it's like 10 minutes long now. I'm sure I give you some good ideas. I'm sure that has changed your perspective a bit. But I'm also pretty sure that your several year-long porn addiction isn't going to be saved by 10 minutes of my conditioning to you. You're gonna need something much more rigorous. And I can say that from personal experience because I watched so many NoFap videos. And most of them were just bad. Like they had this disease model of addiction idea to them. But some of them were genuinely good and it said change your identity. Like become a person who wouldn't do these types of things. Realize that there's a better life without these things. And that's all great advice, but to create neurological change and to actually change your beliefs and associations is an incredibly vigorous process. And this YouTube video won't facilitate it. And I've thought about this a lot, so I decided that I'm going to create a full guide to quitting porn, okay? Instead of like a 50-minute YouTube video, this thing is going to be like 3 hours long, maybe even longer. And I'm actually going to completely take you through those steps of changing your associations, changing your beliefs, getting you to the point where you no longer want porn. We're not going to take cold showers and avoid our triggers. We're going to rewire your brain to no longer want the things that's bad for you. So if that's something you're interested in, subscribe. I'm working very hard on this thing. I'm gonna work on it for like an entire month long, 10-hour days. Like I'm not messing around, this is very serious to me. I've got a Discord in the description. I'm giving away free coaching because my channel is still pretty small. I'm gonna start charging in a few weeks, but for now, free stuff is nice, I guess. And I'll see you in the next video.